So I smoothed the inside, and hopefully in the time lapse you could see that I actually added a coil on the inside. Very reminiscent of what we did with the slab boxes by adding the coil in there. So we got a nice smooth transition in the bottom. Now, if the top of your project is going to be really narrow, okay, it's not that really big of a deal, but this gives you the option if you want to leave it nice and open and people look inside, that it would be nice and smooth. It's a lot easier to do it now when you can get to it rather than having to reach your hand way down inside once it gets taller. Okay, the other thing that I forgot to mention, and you probably saw me working with, was the blue rib. Okay, softer the clay, softer the rib. The blue rib is the softest. Okay, and I hold it like this so that my thumb is under there so that I can curve it so that it will follow the contour, and all those little cracks that I had in the clay as I was bending it and forcing it to go certain ways, I've smoothed those all out completely so that it is nice and smooth on the outside. Because again, we don't want to see tool mark. We want this to look like it grew out of the ground. The key term for this is organic, okay? Very organic, all right? And if you're thinking about the project form later on, organic form should be in there somewhere, okay? So that you can kind of say, oh, it has an organic form that looks like a something, okay? Please do not use the term a unique form. I don't know what a unique form is. Yes, it is unique, true. Okay, but as you're describing it, it needs to be described in a way that makes me see it without actually ever seeing the project. Okay, so make sure that I know exactly what it is you're talking about. It's organic like the arms of a tree or something like that. All right. Now, this is where you start listening to the clay or watching and seeing what the clay wants you to do. Okay, so put your ear real close to the clay and listen. Did you hear it? Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, got it. All right, now, I don't know if you heard it, but I did. I'm just kidding, I'm messing with you guys, okay? But honestly, what you wanna do is look and see how the clay bent and formed, okay, as it was going, all right? And so I don't know if you guys can see this, but right here, this has got kind of a curve that kind of comes out that way. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of exaggerate that, and this is why we leave the clay a little bit thick, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press in with my rib, okay, and I don't know if you guys can see me doing that, okay, and I'm gonna encourage that curvature. I'm going to listen to the clay, because the clay's telling me this is what it wants to do, okay, so I'm gonna encourage that little curvature there, okay, smooth it with my fingers a little bit, and so now I've exaggerated that a little bit, all right? So then over here, okay, it looks like it's kind of coming over a little bit more, okay? So maybe I'm gonna kind of drag that a little bit more to the inside, okay? And that's all I really want you guys to do, is just kind of exaggerate what these different designs are doing. Now from the inside, I can put a little bit of pressure, and I don't know if you can see that in the video, I hope you can. In demonstration, you'll be able to see this a little bit more, but as I press on it from the inside, using the round part of my rib here, okay, it's making this side kind of pop out a little bit more, but it's also gonna bring the top of that in. Okay, cool. We're gonna go with that. And this is how you're gonna build it. Just kind of go along with what the clay is telling you what to do, okay? And this is what I talk about, listen to the clay, and it's kind of weird, I know, okay? But we're all a little bit weird, and that's okay. All right, and so this side, I think I'm gonna bring this in a little bit more and just kind of play with it. Now I've got this little bump here, you can see that, okay? There you go, a little bit of shadow. This little bump from where it was a little bit thicker when I attached that, very simply, all I have to do is just kind of make that transition nice and smooth. I can take my popsicle stick, smooth those two ends together, and then I'm ready to go ahead and make my next big smooth coil. And I'm just gonna continue adding on to this, okay? So these coils don't have to be really big or really long. They don't have to go all the way around. That's not as crucial, okay? But the main thing is that we make sure that these are smooth together really well, okay? So I pound it flat. The reason why I start at one end and then work my way to the other is because you're gonna stretch the clay as it goes. Now, once it gets to the end, okay, what happens is the clay doesn't move around. It's stuck to the table slightly, Okay, so if I just sit here and I go back the other way, notice that the clay isn't moving. So I gotta pick it up, release it from there, and then that way I can flatten it out, all right? Again, one side always tends to be rounded, okay? I don't know if you can see that. And one side tends to be more flat. I give it a little tap so that now I've got a nice flat surface for that to attach to, all right? And then I can also go ahead and cut the rounded ends off. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and place this on here. Now, if you have something that's starting to curve outward, okay, kind of like my curve here, how this is starting to come outward, okay, I might go ahead and exaggerate that, okay, by adding this on at a little bit of an angle. And then here, it kind of comes back, so I'm gonna bring that in a little bit, and then we'll wrap that around there, like so, okay? Now, here's the key. What didn't I do? I didn't score and slip. No, you don't have to. As long as this is smoothed together very, very well, okay? So we're gonna smooth it on the inside. And then we're gonna smooth it on the outside, okay? And we will continue to do that all the way around. Inside, we'll smooth it on the outside. And again, this is where that craftsmanship grade is really gonna come into play, and where I need you guys to really concentrate is the fact that I don't wanna see the line where these two pieces were connected, okay? I want this to look organic, all right? Look at the person sitting across from you, or look at somebody else, or look at a family member if you're watching this at home, okay? And you can see that they don't have any lines. And the human body is a very organic form. This is a very organic form, same exact thing, okay? But you don't see any lines where things are connected, all right? So I don't wanna see this line here, okay? So when I smooth this together, and I'll just do a small area here, and then I'll go back to the time lapse, I'm gonna smooth it up and down, and I want that transition from each piece, okay, to be as perfectly smooth as I can. So that way it looks organic, so that people can't tell, how was this made? Was this made out of one solid piece of clay? Oh my gosh, that's amazing if it was, okay? I clean off my rib, just so I don't have anything that's making dents in it that I don't want, but also adding a little bit of water to it also helps it slide over the clay, okay? So that it's nice and smooth. And there we go. And you can see how this is starting to take form, all right? It's starting to build very quickly, all right? I'm gonna press that in there just because that kind of is what the clay is telling me it likes to do for some reason. Now, obviously, I would smooth this part out. I'm working on just this side right here. And then I think this is gonna kind of come over a little bit more, so that way I can press from the inside. I'm hoping that maybe you can see it from there, okay? But press that from the inside. I can smooth this out. And again, just like with our coil vases, smooth as you go. It is so much easier to smooth things while you're building it, and the clay is soft and pliable like this, than waiting until it's all built and then try and do it later on, okay? So I've got this kind of part hanging out over here. Again, I want to just smooth that. Okay. One thing to keep in mind is if you do start going outward in a certain area, all right, it's a really good idea to kind of start bringing it back gradually. It's not going to come back straight across, okay, but we want to make sure that we don't have something that goes a little too far out and then we can't bring it back, or it gets too heavy on one side. Again, use that rib. Smooth that out, okay? And we're gonna even do more smoothing after this, but we can do the initial smoothing with the rib while it's soft like this, okay? Which is going to save us a lot of sanding and a lot of work later on, okay? And I'll show you how to do that in the next videos.